Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. My name is Jones Angell. That over there is Adam Lucas, and we have a bunch of Tar Heel stuff to cover today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk just released Tar Heel football schedule, Carolina basketball with another win, this one on the road, a big one at Pitt, a ton of Olympic sport success. We're going to go to the Olympic sport side of things for our guest. National champion Alexa Graham from Carolina's women's tennis program is going to join us, plus we have the social drive as well. Adam, let's start though with football. Carolina's 2021 schedule is out. What'd you think?
It's still hot.
Yeah.
Well, this is how big a nerd I am. This is one of my favorite days because you get to fill in the schedule on your calendar. You know what you're going to be doing, where the Tar Heels are going to be on certain weekends. And where the Tar Heels are going to be, Jones, is tested early.
Yeah.
Season opener at Virginia Tech. We know Carolina is going to be probably one of the top 15-ish teams in the country in most of the preseason polls. That is a tough opener. You're going to a place that's very tough to play. We think and hope and wish that that'll be a full stadium that day and everybody's going to be excited about being able to get back and do that. That is going to be a very hostile environment right off the bat.
Well, Adam, you look at the first 4 games for Carolina, 3 of them are not just conference games, but division games at Virginia Tech, as Adam mentioned, to start the season, then a home game against Georgia State, then Virginia at home at Georgia Tech after that. And you're not even into October yet. So, I mean, the Coastal Division, those are some really important games to decide that division early on.
You're going to know a lot about the Coastal by the time the leaves even think about starting to change. And then when you get to October, Holy cow, look at who's on the schedule for October. You've got Duke, you've got Florida State, you've got Miami, you've got a bye week, which you're going to need to catch your breath. Then the Tar Heels go to Notre Dame. So you're going to establish a lot about the Coastal in September, and then in October it's going to be about hopefully solidifying that national profile.
Yeah, that could be a really exciting first half of October in Chapel Hill because those games Adam mentioned, Duke, Florida State, Miami, 3 consecutive weeks, all in Chapel Hill on October 2nd, 9th, and 16th. That could be a really fun time for Tar Heel football at that point. A couple of reminders about the schedule as well. Adam mentioned the at Notre Dame game. Carolina also hosts Wake Forest. Both of those games are non-conference games. That's a little bit different. We know Carolina had that home and home with Wake. That was a non-conference home and home. Played the Deacs last year as part of the changing COVID schedule. That counted in the conference. The Notre Dame game last year counted in the conference. This upcoming season, they will not. And then the Tar Heels in with Wofford at home and at NC State. The state game is the Friday before Thanksgiving. A road trip to Pitt, I left that out, excuse me. There's the game against Pitt after the Wake Forest matchup. That's on a Thursday. So, Adam, this is a tough schedule for the Tar Heels for sure.
If the Coastal's in doubt, that trip to Pitt could be important.
Yeah.
Late in the season and what we assume will be a nationally televised game, that could be an important matchup. This is a tough schedule. The people are going to probably harp on the Wofford and the Georgia State games. Those are not the top tier opponents, but they're not supposed to be. That's not the role they're filling on this schedule. When you see it on paper like this, it really makes you think. I really think there's going to be a ton of excitement about Carolina football in the fall. I think people are going to be incredibly excited about, again, hopefully, the opportunity to get back out to Kenan Stadium and see this team in person.
So again, season opener at Virginia Tech. That will either be Thursday, September 2nd or Friday, September 3rd. And then home opener is Saturday, September 11th against Georgia State. The show, by the way, brought to you by Wells Fargo. When our communities need us, Wells Fargo is here to help. Let's transition from football to basketball. And Adam, a terrific stretch for Carolina continues. Tar Heels have now won 3 in a row, 6 of their last 7, and the last 2 since we last joined you here on the show. A home win against NC State, a big road victory at Pittsburgh earlier this week. And Adam, it seems to me as though the biggest storyline is Carolina's offense waking up a little bit. The Heels have been much more efficient offensively, shooting a higher percentage, sharing the basketball at a higher percentage as well, and looking more like a Roy Williams coached Carolina team on the offensive side.
it wasn't that long ago that we sat here and said, man, what's wrong with Carolina shooting 2-point baskets? They can't seem to make any of them. Now they had one of their highest percentages in recent memory against Pitt on Tuesday night, against a tough Pitt team. Armando Bacot, 21 points and 10 rebounds, another double-double, his fourth of the year. And the Tar Heels just seem to be playing better, but I don't think, Jens, that they're playing perfectly yet. I think there's still room to get better there, which they're going to need to do because the upcoming schedule after we think a break this weekend is challenging.
Yeah, it felt like the Pitt game was a great representation of kind of Carolina right now. Clearly getting better, doing some good things, but also plenty of mistakes that Carolina needs to improve on. One of those players, Adam, that is clearly improving is Tar Heel point guard Caleb Love, and he was rewarded for that improvement last week, named ACC Freshman of the Week. That means now, for the first time in 10 years, the Tar Heels have had 3 different players named ACC Freshman of the Week. Caleb joins both Day'Ron Sharpe and RJ Davis, who have earned that award at one point or another this season. The last time that happened, it was 3 pretty good ones here, Adam. It was Harrison Barnes, Kendall Marshall, and Reggie Bullock who did it all in their freshman seasons.
And we talked about the need for Carolina to get better play from the point guard position. Caleb Love, 5 assists in the first half at Pitt. Second half wasn't quite as effective, but he made a big 3-point shot, and he's shown the willingness to take those shots that matter. But the distributing of the ball is what's been the key for him. It's gotten better. He just looks like he's making better decisions and safer, smarter passes, and that's made the offense look better.
And if he has a game where the shot isn't going in, he was just 3 of 10, for example, against Pitt, did not let that negatively affect the other things that he was doing on the court to help Carolina win. So Tar Heels, as Adam referenced a little bit earlier, the schedule still a little bit in question. The next scheduled game for Carolina is at Clemson. That is Tuesday, February 2nd. Originally, the Tar Heels did have a game against Notre Dame on the schedule for this Saturday, but due to COVID problems throughout the season and the shuffling of the schedule, Carolina's ended up without a partner this weekend in the ACC, at least as of right now. So don't necessarily expect that to change, but expect the unexpected this season, right? So we think the next time we'll see the Tar Heels is again on the road next Tuesday, February 2nd at Clemson. Let's move from the guys to the women's basketball side of things, and a big win for Courtney Banghart and her team this past weekend, Adam, as they topped Notre Dame in Carmichael, 78-73, the final in that one. Stephanie Watts, a huge game, nearly a triple-double, 25 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists for her, and then former pod guest Petra Holashinska had 24 points as well. The Tar Heels hit a season-high 10 3-pointers.
Courtney Banghart had talked about the need to get better play from her veterans, and they definitely did in this game. Really good clues to this game. The Tar Heels changed defenses and surprised Notre Dame, got a key steal. And anytime you win, of course, there's all sorts of excitement in the locker room. Do you think other Tar Heel coaches don't like the fact that Mac Brown started this dancing trend and now they have to do it?
Well, I like that looped right there. I'm not sure that's I'm not sure. We want Courtney Banghart coaching, Adam. We know that for sure.
Well, when the pod wins, we dance.
That's right. Tar Heels, boy, tough stretch coming up. They finally, it appears, are going to take on Louisville tonight. That's a game that has been scheduled multiple times and postponed multiple times. Cardinals are #1 in the nation. Carolina playing there this evening, and then a game against Virginia Tech, also on the road. That's the second of now 3 scheduled meetings with the Hokies this year. That game is coming up. I mean, made Adam snort, for goodness sake.
Don't try to understand the women's basketball schedule. It makes no sense.
That game is coming up on Sunday. All right, let's get to some other sports around Chapel Hill. Let Adam compose himself. Start off with wrestling. Tar Heels top 15 in the nation, picked up a big win against Duke. And Adam, what a big weekend coming up for the wrestling team. 2 matchups with top 10 teams. NC State, who's #3 in the country, on Friday, and then a match with #8 Virginia Tech Saturday. The Friday matchup with State, you see, is 6 p.m. on that graphic. The game against Virginia Tech is at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So big stretch here coming up for the wrestling program, which has had some matches rescheduled, trying to find its footing coming off that big win.
2 top 10 matches in less than 24 hours.
That's right, back-to-back days.
That's a little tough. The Friday night match on the ACC network, so you can catch it.
All right, let's go to gymnastics, and a great start to the season for the gymnastics program as they win on the road against New Hampshire in the first dual meet of the year. You see that team score of 195.2 sets a program record for most points in a season opener. And of course, it's a team event or a team sport, but Adam, the individual performance of Elizabeth Colton on the beam, she had a nation's high 9.95 for her beam routine in this dual meet against New Hampshire. She nailed it, helped the Tar Heels win the match.
Now, Jones, this is in your wheelhouse because
yeah.
you're the official Carolina Insider gymnastics correspondent. She makes this look like it's nothing. That thing is what, like 3 inches wide or something?
Yeah, it's impressive. A great big-time dismount here, sticks it. And again, a 9.95. She was named the Beamer Eagles Specialist of the Week. And as we said, high score on the beam in the nation. Congratulations to Elizabeth. The beam makes me nervous. Whenever I see the beam, whether it's the Tar Heels, whether it's my daughter, whoever it is, my heart rate goes up when they're on the beam.
I don't like watching anyone on the beam.
Makes me nervous.
Yeah, just too high a margin of error.
All right, let's go from gymnastics to soccer. Both men's and women's soccer getting great news here over the last couple of days because in the professional drafts for those two sports, the Tar Heels extraordinarily well represented. 3 men go in the MLS Super Draft, 3 women drafted in the NWSL draft as well. That includes Emily Fox going number 1 overall, Brianna Pinto going number 3 overall in that draft as well. And Adam, no big surprise there. Tar Heels excellent in both men's and women's soccer, and some of those individuals getting awarded for that.
That's an incredibly high rate of professional success from one program, one men's program and one women's program. I know it's confusing. It's confusing to us too about now, are these Tar Heels still going to play for the Tar Heels in the spring? They have that option. They could come back and compete for the Tar Heels. They could turn professionally. Still some decisions to be made. We don't know all the final answers just yet.
By the way, we mentioned Emily Fox going number 1 in that draft. It was a big stretch for her because she also was called up to the U.S. women's national team and came on as a sub in the big victory over Colombia. That was on January 22nd, her 3rd appearance with the U.S. women's national team. You see Emily there checking in onto the field. So congratulations to her and to all the Tar Heels drafted, both on the men's and women's side of things. Speaking of men's and women's, let's go to men's and women's tennis as we lead up to our interview with Alexa Graham. And no surprise here, Adam, these are terrific programs for the Tar Heels. The men's tennis team, we'll check out the rankings here in just a second, but they're number 2 in the nation, the women number 1, and they both advanced through the beginning rounds of the ITA Indoor National Championships. The Tar Heels beat Northwestern and South Carolina on the men's side of things. On the women's side of things, it was Notre Dame and then Ole Miss who the Heels were able to vanquish to move on to the ITA Indoor Championships coming up. The men will be in Champaign, Illinois. The women will be in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It is now a 16-team bracket for those 2 events, and there are those rankings we were talking about. Tar Heels number 2 on the men's side and number 1 on the women's side.
And both those programs have a legitimate chance to win those tournaments. Don't be perplexed because, as we'll talk about with Alexa, Carolina is actually going to Georgia this weekend. In women's tennis, Georgia's a top 10 program as well. That's not part of the ITA National Indoors. That's just a regular non-conference match. ITAs will resume the weekend after that. So
Alexa Graham is our guest this week. Alexa, one of 3 Tar Heel seniors who elected to return for a 5th year after their year was stopped short. We'll talk about that with her due to COVID last season. And this is a team that is certainly positioned to make a deep run on the national level. It's an excellent team for Carolina's women's tennis. That includes Alexa, who was the individual national champion back in the fall. So let's get to our conversation with Alexa Graham. We'll come back from that and go through our social drive here on the Carolina Insider. So here's how the selection procedure goes each Thursday for the Carolina Insider.
Ooh.
Which national championship contender do we want to talk to this week? Because there's like 100 of them out there on campus, so it's like shooting fish in a barrel. This week it's Alexa Graham from women's tennis. As usual, the team, are national title contenders. Alexa is a national title contender. Alexa, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you so much.
How is I guess we're still sort of in the preseason, but you've already played in the ITA indoors, so it's kind of a weird time. You've advanced team-wise in ITA. How did those go this past weekend?
I think we had two really solid matches. Those were our second and third match. And the team, it was just a good start for us. We all played solid, and we kind of cruised through them.
Alexa, why are y'all so good? Carolina women's tennis has been number one, it feels like, for years in a row here. And I know, and we can talk about it in a little bit, about the way that last season ended so abruptly. But what has allowed this program to be right there at the top of the nation year in and year out here over the last several years?
Honestly, I think all the credit goes to Coach and his coaching staff. As a junior, everybody wants to play at Carolina and everybody wants to play for Brian Calbus. So he's just created such a great culture in his program that every junior playing wants to come play for him.
What is the reputation of Carolina women's tennis on the junior circuit?
Well, they're one of the best teams. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there, but Carolina is consistently the best. And when you get a recruiting email or text from Brian, it's just so special.
But there's also, there's a lot of good teams. So what is it about Carolina that's even a little more special? There's something other than just what's going on the court, it feels like.
Yeah, the culture in the locker room, we're like a giant family, and you could just tell when you visit that there's something special about the school and there's something special about the team. And Brian has created such a great culture on the team that we're not just teammates, we're family first.
Alexa, we have asked this question to tennis players and golf people who compete in golf as well. It's such an individual sport, and yet you are part of a team. How do you balance that as an individual and trying to get better alone and by yourself, and then being a part of a larger unit as well?
It's definitely an adjustment. When you're growing up, you're playing just for yourself. It's completely an individual sport. And then you come and now your match doesn't necessarily matter as much as the team winning the overall match. So it's definitely an adjustment, but in the end of the day, it's also the most fun I've ever had on a tennis court.
Take us back to last March. Your team is one of the best teams in the country. You've got a veteran team. You're pretty sure you're going to be a national title contender, and then everything changes. How did that all unfold for women's tennis?
Well, women's tennis was actually in the Bahamas on spring break. We were lucky enough that our coach took us on this amazing spring break trip. We had been working hard, and we were all kind of hanging out in the pool, and then sports and leagues and other conferences are just canceling things, and we're like, it's not looking good. And then eventually we got canceled, and we were all just devastated.
Is it hard to fully process, as you said, you're sitting there hanging out in the pool and all these people on the internet are talking about how things are ending, and you look around and think, well, it doesn't look like things are ending.
Yeah, I think none of us even understand how severe the situation was, and no one understood why such drastic measures were being taken. And it felt like we didn't know if we were going to be able to come back and take our fifth year, us three seniors. And it just felt like everything, the world was ending almost, because we weren't ready to end our college careers to begin with. And then to just have it taken from us out of nowhere was really upsetting.
So why was that the decision that you guys made to come back to compete here for this fifth year when you were afforded that opportunity? Why was that the right call for you and your teammates?
I think for all of us, at least for me, was we're either all going to do this or none of us are going to do this, because we started this journey together. We've been through it all together, and I didn't want to come back and do another year without them. So we decided that this was the best option for us. We'd get to continue with school, add some degrees. McKenna's actually in grad school right now. I added a major, and then hopefully compete for an NCAA title at the end of the year.
All right, so now, Alexa, you have won an individual national championship, ITA indoor, correct? I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, and you've been part of a team that's won an indoor national championship also, correct?
Yes.
Which one is more awesome? This is a great problem to have. Is it better to be an individual champion or a part of that team championship?
Definitely the team championship. When you win as a team, you just look to your teammates and everybody's running to gather around and hug and celebrate. But when you win one on your own, it's just kind of like, it's exciting. Don't get me wrong. But it's not the same energy. It's not the same level of happiness.
That's right, Adam. When we achieve something as a show, it's a lot better than when I do it by myself.
If either of those ever happens, that will definitely be exciting. Alexa, when you have everything taken away from you, how, if at all, does that change the way you appreciate it when you get to do it again?
Oh, so much more. Like last season, it just felt like between school and everything, you play a lot of matches. You're just going out there. You're working hard, but you're going through the motions. This is exactly what, it's what I've been doing for over 10 years. And it's just the same thing every day. But then when you don't even have an opportunity to practice because everything's shut down, when you finally get back on the practice court, it was exciting. When I got to see my teammates again and play with them, it was exciting. And then to finally play another tournament, like, you're not even thinking about winning anymore. You're just so grateful to be there.
When did you realize you were good at tennis?
I don't know if I was like, wow, I'm really good at this, or if it's just, like I said, it's the kind of thing where you just keep going. There's always another tournament. There's always another match. And I guess my results allowed me to end up at UNC in a really good program.
You said you added a major. What did you add?
Journalism. I was a political science major.
Whoa, Alexa, here, let me give you some advice. Just do the opposite of what Adam and I do, and you're going to be successful.
I'll give you some advice. Play tennis for at least 20 more years so you don't come get our job. Then you can do whatever you want.
Sorry, we cut you off. Why was that the right choice for you?
I mean, I've always been interested in broadcasting, so I'm doing mostly broadcast journalism classes. And especially with tennis and being able to go into sports commentating, it was definitely the best option for me.
All right, take us through what's the next step for you and your team. What's coming up? What should Tar Heel fans look for here over the next couple of weeks with Carolina's women's tennis program?
Yeah, well, this Saturday we're actually headed to Athens to play UGA in their home, which will definitely be a tough match. They're a top program. They're one of the best in the SEC, so we're excited for that. And then we'll come home and then next week leave for the Indoor National Championship. So that's what we're really looking forward to.
Just yet another person at the top of his or her field here in Chapel Hill. It's Alexa Graham from Carolina's women's tennis team. Alexa, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations on a wonderful career to this point, and best of luck as you guys move through this season.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much to Alexa Graham for joining us here on the show. Best of luck to her and her team as they take on Georgia this weekend and then move through the rest of this season. And our conversations with Alexa and with all our guests here on the Carolina Insider brought to you by Coca-Cola, which tastes better together and is a proud partner of Carolina Athletics. All right, let's go to our social drive. Let's take a cruise around social media and find all kinds of fun Tar Heel topics. And Adam, we start with Carolina football, and not on the field, but in the classroom. Tar Heels getting recognized here recently. 6 Tar Heels named to the All-ACC academic team, and a lot of familiar faces there in that 6 that were honored.
I think people really underrate how difficult it is to both play at such a high level and achieve academically at a high level. Jones, it's hard to just achieve at that level academically without playing football,
yes,
as some people know.
Yeah.
And we also had 2 former podcasts on there. Clearly, we inspired Sam Howell and Ben Kiernan. So, guys, you're welcome for all those study tips. Congratulations
to those guys. And congratulations also, Adam, to 3 walk-ons who were awarded a scholarship this past week. Carolina football put out a cool video for that. I want to show you just a little bit of that. But Jonathan Kim, British Brooks, Kieran Johnson all awarded a scholarship. Let's take a look at, let's see Jonathan Kim getting his announced here in front of the team.
Apologize, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you are.
Sorry. I got to get something off my chest, Coach. Coach, you got a kicker. He knocks that thing out of the end zone every freaking time on a kickoff. You got to put him on scholarship for spring and summer coaching. You need to do it right now.
What do you think?
Tar Heels excited for their teammate. They're well deserved. Jonathan Kim, nearly 90% of his kickoffs this year were touchbacks, which is exactly what the Tar Heels asked him to do in that role. And congratulations to all three of those guys. Again, Jonathan Kim, British Brooks, who of course started the Orange Bowl at the tailback position for the Tar Heels. He's the special teams captain for Carolina the past 2 seasons. And also Kieron Johnson, who has stepped up big. He played some key snaps on the offensive line, particularly in that Wake Forest game this past season for the Heels. Great to see those guys getting awarded for their hard work.
I thought it was unfortunate that we cut that video right before Coach Brown said, "And I want to thank Jones Angell," because I hadn't realized how good Jonathan Kim had been until Jones was really beating that drum on the Carolina Insider audio podcast that I listen to every week. And so Jones was on the Jonathan Kim train early.
Also, a great tweet from former podcast Kevin Donnelly. He himself a former walk-on, and he recognized how important that moment was. And gosh, Adam, worked out just fine for Kevin. He went on to play more than a decade in the NFL and is now back as part of the Tar Heel football staff, and great for him to recognize how important that moment was. And again, terrific honor for those 3 guys to get awarded for their hard work. All right, let's go to the basketball side of things. Adam, I'm going to let you take us through a couple of great highlights from the Tar Heels in the NBA, because the Heels doing some big-time things at the pro level.
A lot of good things for Carolina. Big week in the NBA. A lot of things that are going to look familiar to you, starting with Kobe White. When you think about Kobe White as a Tar Heel, what do you think about? Great shooting and that speed. Well, guess what? It translates to the NBA level just fine. We saw it so many times at the Smith Center. Here it is at the NBA level. There's the Charlotte Hornets trying to keep up with Kobe White. They are not succeeding as the speed translates. Kobe's having a great year for the Chicago Bulls. Another Tar Heel point guard, Cole Anthony. That's a game winner right there. And the celebration. Cole now in a starting role for the Orlando Magic and doing really well. It's not just the young guys, though. It's also the Tar Heel veterans in the NBA, including Wayne Ellington, who is shooting the ball incredibly well for the Detroit Pistons. You see here, these were back-to-back games against the Detroit Pistons, and he's being guarded by Danny Green, not in the Smith Center at a summer pickup game, but in the NBA, and Wayne knocking in multiple three-pointers over Danny, who, of course, great shooter himself. But on this night, Wayne got the better of it. He's having a great season for the Pistons. He's one of their primary sources of offense. Also, those uniforms are a little questionable that he was wearing. Not a big fan of those.
Yeah, Danny on the 76ers now, as those 2 teams played in back-to-back night. 2 former podcast, well, actually 3 if you count Danny Green. Danny Green, Wayne Ellington, Kobe White, all veterans of the pod. Congratulations to all those guys doing great things at the pro level. All right, Adam, this one may be a little off the beaten path here as we get late in the social drive. Found this one out there in social media. This was during a Tar Heel game, so there is a Tar Heel tie. This is a Carolina-Wake Forest game. Got to be late 80s, right, is when this one's
early
from?
90s.
Early 90s in that time period, where for some reason the Phoenix Suns gorilla was at the game as a side attraction. And let's just listen, because Billy Packer, if you're an ACC veteran, you remember Billy and his commentary during the games. He was not a fan of the Suns gorilla being a part of this thing.
66 Tar Heels, and watch this. He might be the player of the game, Billy.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. It may be neat from a standpoint of an exhibition, and I'm sure that they had to pay the guy to come here unless he's a wild student. But I don't really see any reason for that in a game where he could tear down the basket, hurt somebody, and delay the game.
Adam, there is no need for fun during a basketball game. Don't you understand this?
Why are people trying to have fun when Billy Packer's Deeks are trying to take down the Tar Heels?
Yeah.
Get this gorilla, who is clearly a professional mascot, but according to Billy,
could be a wild student.
Might just be a wild student in a gorilla suit that says the gorilla. Get him off the court, because someone could get hurt, and he could pull the rim down,
Yeah.
Jones.
Underrated part of that, Adam, is the fact how far we've come in trampoline dunks as a sideshow during basketball games. That was pretty basic, Suns gorilla. We can do much better than that now.
I thought that video was a great encapsulation of the Billy Packer experience. If you didn't live through it, it knew a ton about basketball, but absolutely seemed to loathe almost everything about it. And that was it right there. So when you're sitting there and you're thinking about announcers you do or don't like, that was a little bit of the Billy Packer experience.
All right, we're going to finish with President's Cup golf, of course.
Right after the gorilla.
Yeah, because there's been a Tar Heel named the captain of the upcoming President's Cup team. That is Tar Heel Davis Love. He put out a short video reading a letter from the previous captain of the President's Cup. That was Tiger Woods, who Tiger sent this letter to Davis announcing that he would be the next captain. We took just a little bit of this. Let's take a look and listen.
The event heading to Charlotte in 2022, there's no better fit for the captain's role. The opportunity to captain a President's Cup team in your home state will be something special, and I'm sure the Tar Heel faithful will turn out in droves to keep that place rocking all 4 days. It will be one hell of a week at Quail in 2022. The U.S. team is in great hands. Congratulations, Davis. Keep the streak alive. Tiger Woods.
And also worth mentioning, a big part of that is that the President's Cup is going to be in North Carolina, in Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte. So a great honor for Davis Love, who of course has decorated a major champion and parts of tons of Ryder Cup and President's Cup team. He's been the captain of a couple of Ryder Cup teams in the past as well, including the winning captain of a Ryder Cup team. And so looking forward to that. Hopefully we can have a great number of fans over there at Quail Hollow Club, a beautiful course over there in Charlotte for the upcoming President's Cup, and a terrific honor for Davis Love III.
2 straight Carolina Insider appearances for Tiger Woods. That means he's ahead of Davis Love 2-1. Davis Love, come be on the Carolina Insider. You need to do it to tie up Tiger.
Anytime. We'd love to see you, Davis. And we always love to have you as well. Appreciate you being with us this week. We'll be back with you next week. A ton of Tar Heel stuff going on, so we'll have a bunch to tell you when we join you again here on the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.